What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. US President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping are set to meet next week in South Korea during the annual APEC summit. That's according to the White House. It comes as another round of US-China trade talks is due to take place in Malaysia, with both countries saying they want to reach a deal. Leslie Liao has more.
It's official. The leaders of the world's two top superpowers will meet next Thursday. U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping will hold in-person talks. The White House says they'll happen on the sidelines of this year's APEC summit in South Korea.
On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C.
This comes at a time when the U.S. and China are trying to hash out a trade deal amid tensions fueled by tit-for-tat export restrictions and tariffs. There are concerns on the Washington side over China's monopoly on the processing of critical rare earth minerals used in everything from smartphones to military weapons. But here in Taipei, there are worries that Trump may make concessions over Taiwan to get a better deal. China claims Taiwan as its territory despite never controlling it, and the U.S. supports Taiwan's self-defense through arms sales and bilateral cooperation. The big question for Taiwan is, will the U.S. president turn his back on Taipei to win favor with China? Earlier this week, Trump tried to downplay that possibility.
I don't see that at all with President Xi. I think we're going to get along very well as it pertains to Taiwan and others. Now, that doesn't mean it's not the apple of his eye, because probably it is, but I don't see anything happening. We have a very good trade relationship.
TaiwanPlus reached out to Taiwan's foreign ministry for comment, and officials there say they're monitoring any new developments between the U.S. and China. At the same time, they say they're looking to deepen Taiwan's relationship with Washington to ensure that Taipei's interests are protected. Howard Zhang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
The Chinese Communist Party has wrapped up one of its most important meetings of the year, with party documents pushing for China to become a technological powerhouse. But with slowing economic growth and concerns about cross-strait tensions, many are looking to the upcoming Trump-Xi meeting for what's next. Chris Goring reports.
Chinese President Xi Jinping closes out one of the Communist Party's key meetings of the year, the fourth Plenum in Beijing. The party issued recommendations to bolster China's technological capacity, an aim for higher quality growth in the years ahead. The weeks before the meeting saw political purges in the military, with 9 generals expelled, including the country's second highest-ranking general, He Weidong, replaced by Xi loyalist Zhang Shengming.
所以高阶将领这个的被更换，代表了习近平在这方面呢这个有绝对的权威。我想这个是他要给全世界给中国这个人民呢最重要的讯号。
The meeting sets the tone for the country's next 5-year economic plan, to be finalized next spring. China wants independence from countries like the U.S. in critical technologies like chips and AI. But those lofty goals come as the country experiences slowing economic growth, a struggling real estate sector, and falling exports. That's due in large part to U.S. tariffs. Those trade tensions will be front and center at a meeting between China's Xi and U.S. President Donald Trump in South Korea next week. Trump will arrive in Asia this weekend ahead of the ASEAN and APEC summits, where regional partners have their own concerns.
Southeast Asian countries that may not necessarily be formally aligned with the U.S. They also see the United States as a vital economic partner, but also an important security partner and counterweight to China in their neighborhood. There will be a lot of interest on whether the U.S. and China can hammer out some kind of truce and a sustainable trade deal.
Trade tensions have escalated in recent weeks, with China issuing export controls on key rare earth minerals used in chips and weapon systems, and the U.S. threatening new 100% tariffs on China. In Taiwan, some worry that Washington might soften or recalibrate its stance on Taipei to clinch a China trade deal, even as Beijing steps up military pressure across the Taiwan Strait. But local experts say that if China wants to become the world's leading tech powerhouse, cross-strait peace remains key.
它还是需要很多来自台湾的高科技产品啊，譬如说这个半导体啊，这个中国也必须考虑到，如果它要在这几年内对美国取得优势，反而呢跟台湾维持相对正常的贸易关系，而不是攻打台湾，对他来讲是比较重要的。
Now, all eyes turn to South Korea, where a decision by the two leaders could have wide-ranging consequences. Joseph Wu and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
The new leader of Taiwan's main opposition, Kuomintang, has affirmed the importance of US-Taiwan ties. Li-wun was responding to a congratulatory message from American Institute in Taiwan Director Raymond Green after winning last week's KMT chair election. It comes amid concerns over how her victory could affect US-Taiwan relations due to her support for closer ties with China. In her response, Cheng said that cooperation between her party and the AIT, the US's de facto embassy here, plays a key role in maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait. A new report from research group IORG says around 16,000 Taiwanese people took part in Beijing-backed religious activities in China last year. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, the government body that handles cross-strait matters, says these activities are part of China's United Front efforts. To find out how religious activities could be weaponized for political purposes, our reporter Alan Luke spoke with You Zhihao, co-director of IORG, which studies Taiwan's information environment.
Your report shows in 2024, about 16,000 Taiwanese people took part in religious activities in China. How do you view this number?
We parsed through some 7,000 articles published by China Taiwan Net, 中国台湾网, which is a website run by the Taiwan Affairs Office under the State Council in the People's Republic of China. And the numbers show that there's two peaks. One is around March and one is around October. Especially for October, it's due to what's called Mazu Yuhua Shengtian, the becoming of gods of the Mazu goddess, which is a sort of a special day for the Mazu folk religion. So it means that, of course, China's propaganda only shows what's favorable for China. So we could reasonably assume that there's a lot more so-called exchange activities that are unreported by these state media reports. And we're trying to assess the risk that this poses to Taiwanese, not just national security, but also Taiwanese culture and Taiwanese identity.
Like you mentioned, Beijing uses religious exchanges as a tool for political propaganda. What do you think is the actual impact on Taiwanese people?
So we did observe those two, let's say, those two sides of Chinese propaganda. On the one side, it claims that between Taiwan's people and people in China, we have so-called common values. These gods are all Chinese gods. And then Taiwanese people are longing to go back to the so-called motherland to find our roots, so to speak. On the other side, the Chinese propaganda attacks the current Taiwanese government for trying to sever that tie using politics, right? Using manipulation in politics. In terms of the actual impact, this is really difficult to assess because from the Taiwan side, we actually encourage healthy cultural exchanges between Taiwan and China, right? This is not this. Taiwan is a free country. We're a democracy, and we want to make friends with people around the world. So, but we cannot overlook the risk.
United Front work is usually subtle and hard to detect. What do you think Taiwan, as a democracy, can do to counter China's United Front work in religion?
But we need to understand the contemporary China a lot better. The China under the rule of Chinese Communist Party. If we were to engage with China and Chinese communities with that knowledge, there's less risk of us being influenced without us knowing. Both civil society and governments are responsible for raising awareness and raising the literacy on China. And of course, strengthening the legal frameworks. These are not partisan issues in our eyes. These are common issues. These are national issues that needs cooperation from all parties.
That was IORG co-director You Zhihao. People in Taiwan will start receiving a $330 cash handout from the government as early as mid-November. The handouts are part of a special budget passed by the legislature last week in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on Taiwanese goods. Taiwanese citizens born before April next year, as well as foreigners with permanent residency, are eligible to receive the payments. Officials said the handouts could add up to 0.5% to the country's GDP growth. The government will also introduce initiatives to boost domestic demand. One of Taiwan's furthest outposts, a tiny islet within view of China, is welcoming Taiwanese visitors to experience a slice of military history. John Van Trieste reports.
A boat packed with tourists approaches the coast of a tiny islet with a big story to tell. This is Dadan Island, less than a square kilometer in size, but crucially less than 4 kilometers from the Chinese coast. It's part of the offshore Kinmen group of islands, one of the furthest bits of land governed by Taipei. Dadan Island fought off a communist Chinese attack in 1950. And with China still in clear view just over there across the water, it's been standing guard ever since, in case Beijing ever again tries to assert its claims over Taiwan with force. A visit here leaves a deep impression on tourists.
当过兵的感想啊，感想就是认为如果那时候来这边当兵的话，真的是蛮辛苦、蛮累的，然后有那种两岸对敌的那种紧张感。
Until 2019, this was a place closed off to all but the military, and it's still under close guard. But today, Taiwanese nationals are allowed to tour the bunkers and other sites. These include a propaganda broadcast station and a slogan painted in characters big enough to be seen from China calling for unification, though of course not on communist China's terms. Though closed again during COVID, the island reopened to tourists last year. 25,000 people have visited since.
这里是一个就是很前线的地方，然后一定有它的历史的痕迹在，然后来到这边可以体会当时我们不知道的一些体验，就是当时的一些战况啊什么的。然后我们的导游也跟我们讲了很多这里当时的故事，所以让我们更深入的了解金门的一些文化。
Local officials say tourism on the island is about learning from history and hoping for a peaceful future.
金门县是唯一有打过巷战的地方，所以我们知道战争无情，和平无价。我们透过这样的一个包装，我们能够让整个大嶝岛的开放是一种和平的一种象征。那过去就是历史了，历史已经过去了，我们展望的是更好的一个未来。所以透过这样的一个营地的整理，我们希望把这样的精神传递下去。一个普世的价值就是一个和平。
But tension has never left this place. China regularly sends its Coast Guard ships into the waters around here. It's a cat and mouse game that sees Taiwanese ships sent out to chase them away. And the island even featured in a Taiwanese drama imagining a full-on Chinese invasion. From here, new construction, like this airport on the Chinese skyline, shows just how close an attack could come from. On Dadan Island, even with its tourists, the story of Taiwan-China tensions isn't just the past. Leon Lien and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of pumping sculptures celebrating women at a harvest festival in Germany. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and Osaka, download the TaiwanPlus app.